Hello everyone. This is the first of our new series, which I'm calling Music and Myth. What do I mean by that? Well, I want to discuss the modes, like the modes of the major scale. But rather than just talking about, like sort of flats and sharps and whatever, I want to talk a bit more about the context of the actual modes themselves. And I want to actually think of them if you actually think of them, like we'll start with like the basic 7 modes, but if you actually think of them as like 7 sort of worlds or realms, then we start getting into the area almost like fantasy, mythology, exactly. So in this particular episode, I'm going to be focusing on the Dorian mode, but I want to give you a lot of context about that. And I want to start with this quote from Joseph Campbell. You probably heard of this book, Hero with a Thousand Faces. This is my copy. As you can see, it's very well thumbed, very well read. But like Campbell's main thesis is the idea of linking myth and dream. That he calls like dream like a personal mythology, whereas myth is like a collective dream experience for everyone. So he's very influenced by Carl Jung, lots of sort of psychoanalysis and things like that. But there's this particular quote which I want to give you, page 11 in this edition. Let's see. Yeah. It has always been the prime function of mythology and rite to supply the symbols that carry the human spirit forward, in counteraction to those other constant human fantasies that tend to tie it back. In fact, it may well be that the very high incidence of neuroticism amongst ourselves follows from the decline among us of such effective spiritual aid. We remain fixated to unexercised images of our infancy, and hence disinclined to the necessary passages of our adulthood. Yeah, sorry about the stammering there, but I can't help it, I stammer. So but what that's actually saying is that without a mythology, without some sense of like theatre or some stage in order to act out these things which are on the mind, we get depressed, we get trapped by like our experiences, like experiences we may have had as children, and then of course you grow up and these things don't get addressed. So what I'm trying to say, what I'm trying to get across here is that that we need that sense of theatre. We need that sense of, well, not just having a mythology, but acting it out in some kind of realm. And we as musicians, that has to be our prime function. That's what we do. Now, going back to like sort of Greek times, there was a tradition of like the epic poets, people like Homer, not Homer Simpson, but like the poet Homer, like things like the Iliad and the Odyssey, and they'd be telling like these, these grandiose epic stories of, like Odysseus, trying to get home, and all these adventures he had, or Jason and the Argonauts, or things like that. And these heroes, not only would they be encountering sort of like different races and cultures, but they'd be encountering sort of like fantastical creatures, dragons and demons and things of that nature. But looking at those stories from a psychoanalytic point of view, those creatures and those encounters actually mean something. It might be something that's been on your mind, something which, I don't know, something which you haven't been able to express, but can only really be articulated through the power of myth and through the power of music. And this is where the modes come in, as being, that important. I mean, perhaps you might want to think about some like myths that you know of, like in your culture, or that you're aware of. I mean, like, I live in Leicester at the moment. Now over that way, there's a place called Lutterworth, and there's a village called Griffydam, and there's a legend there of a griffin. It's like a half lion, half eagle, and this griffin had taken over a well, and it was stopping all the villagers from having from getting any water. But there was a knight who came back from the Crusades, and the villagers told the knight about this griffin and all the problems it was causing, and then of course the knight says, right, leave it to me. And then he goes over and he fights the griffin and kills it. And then the knight was then celebrated as being this hero. And then the legend is that the skin, the hide from the griffin, was actually hung up in a church in Lutterworth. And when people got married, they would go underneath this skin, like this hide, and it would be considered like a good luck blessing. So that's one local legend. Over that way, there's the legend of the Leicestershire witch called Black Anna, or Black Annis. That she dominates a certain area of Leicester, and if she doesn't like you, then she'll put a curse on you as as you're coming down the A47 road. And then over, I think it's that way, I'm not sure, is Nottingham, Nottinghamshire, and I'm sure you're probably familiar with legends of Robin Hood, so there's lots of stories about Robin Hood, but the Dorian mode particularly, seems to lend itself to that style of storytelling, and then of course in the folkloric tradition, like the folk song, not just the poems, but the poems are important as well. But we've got quite a rich heritage of English folk songs. Now, British Isles, of course, we got like a very rich Scottish heritage as well, Welsh, Irish. But from my own experience, of course, I'm more familiar with the English, the English heritage and the English stories. So I just wanted to to get everybody thinking in those terms, rather than you play a sharp six and you got you could do that if you want, but if you actually get into what the modes are, into that world, that otherworldliness, that bridge between where we are now and trying to get into that fantasy place, then it should make the modes all the more accessible to us. That when we're playing, we're actually inviting people into that world. We're actually going back to that oral tradition. When the Greek poets would stand up and they'd read this big long epic poem, and they'd be accompanied by a musician or musicians, and people would be wowed and amazed, because like the different parts of the poem would have, certain elements of drama or tragedy in them, and the music would reflect that, yeah, so I'm going to explain like the Dorian mode now. Indeed, well, a D Dorian mode, that's basically just that's a C major scale, but starting on the note D. So we're going D, D, F, G, A, B, C, and then back to D. But what's usual, especially in the folk tradition, is that you start you play a D pentatonic ascending, and then you play the Dorian coming down. Like that. Yeah, so once we've now actually got that down, then we can start conjuring up those other worlds, yeah, so if we actually not just like with the Dorian mode, but like with if we familiarise ourselves with those deep pentatonic positions. Basically, we're starting here. That's a D first position pentatonic. Second position. Third position, which I'm going to play here. Fourth position. Fifth position. So what that means is that now, not only have we got the Dorian mode down and those pentatonics, but we can now actually link that folklore mythic tradition with blues and jazz and rock, and then we've got a whole new edge. We've got a whole a whole range of things. In fact, sometimes it might even be overwhelming, the amount of stuff that we've got available to us. So I'm going to leave it there for today. I mean, so what I really want you to do is to try and practice the Dorian mode with those pentatonics, and see if you can bring out that sort of mythical otherworldliness, if you can. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. Thanks very much for watching. Please leave any comments below. Please leave any questions below, and I'll see you soon. Thank you.